We'll get started. One of the things that we wanted to include as part of our meetings of the consortium. Of course, again, this morning we had a wonderful opportunity to site visits to two companies that are represented on the panel, and to just kind of hear from them how, briefly about their individual companies, just for the purpose of reviewing that briefly for anybody that's not yet familiar, or also Self-Help International, which is an NGO, and kind of what relationship that you've had with the consortium, and what type of impacts it has made. You don't have to do all of that. I think let's go back and forth. First, to introduce yourselves and say something a little bit about the company, and then we'll follow up with a couple of questions, and then we're going to open it up for other people for everybody to ask some questions. Okay, so let me just give you this.
My name is Theodore Ohene-Bojwe, co-founder and operations lead at Saytech Company Limited, where we design and make smart agricultural machinery tailored towards the needs of smallholder farmers, which forms predominantly the major farmers that we have in Ghana and Sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Emmanuel Bodichi, and I work with Sesi Technologies as the head of marketing. We are into producing affordable technologies to help mitigate the losses incurred by farmers in their post-harvest era. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Benjamin Kusi. I am the country director for Self-Help International. Self-Help is a non-profit, non-governmental organization working to alleviate hunger by helping people help themselves. We have been working in Ghana since 1989. We work mostly in rural communities. If time will permit me, I have some slides to share. So, Prof. Maya, if that is permissible, I would like to share some slides, which won't take us more than 10 minutes. There are some few slides I would like to go through. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, Self-Help International, as I did indicate, is a non-profit, non-governmental organization, and I'm the country director since June 2010. The founder of Self-Help International, Ben Schild, when founded in 1959, the focus was on how to build small tractors and ship them to developing countries as a way of improving transportation, especially transporting farm produce to market centers. Along the line in 1989, this vision shifted with more focus on alleviating hunger by helping people help themselves. This started here in Ghana through partnership with the Sakawa Global 2000. And then in 1999, based on the successes Self-Help Chalk here in Ghana, the program was replicated in Nicaragua. So currently, Self-Help is working in Nicaragua and in Ghana, and our headquarters is in the Iowa, USA. Our mission is to alleviate hunger by people help themselves. And this we do through three main interventions currently. We have an intervention that works to improve agriculture, another intervention that works to promote good nutrition, and also the third intervention also works to empower women and girls in a manner that is quality, that improves quality of life with dignity. We have achieved a lot in collaboration with our partners. And if you look at the screen, in 2021, we recorded zero pest infestation from 32 producers who grew orange fresh sweet potato in sacks. 372 farmers participated in agriculture extension education training. 241 men and women were provided with vegetable seeds for home cultivation. 26 people started home gardens, and 243 students participated in youth agriculture, agri-crops in 8 different communities. Almost 1.5 million cedis was disbursed to 771 microcredit clients. and about 309 women receive financial literacy and business management training. And 100+ mothers and their babies receive nutrition education and food supplement. And over 100,000 meals were served to 670 children in 9 schools in 8 communities. We have, as part of our intervention to promote good nutrition, we have a school feeding program. Our intervention is slightly different from that of government. In our case, we work in partnership with the communities. We train them on improved agronomic practices, and after that, we give them the seeds and fertilizers to cultivate maize. And after they harvest, they use to prepare the breakfast. So this is slightly different from what the government of Ghana is doing. Well, SFM International believe that, yes, if you really want to go far, then the best way is to go farthest. But if you want to go fast, then you may want to go alone. If you really want to alleviate hunger, it is something that is very big, and no single entity, by way of institution or individual, can do. So we always look for opportunity to work with like-minded individuals and institutions to be successful. In the past, we have Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ghana Health Service, Ghana Education Service, local government, KNUST, Iowa State University, Women's Health, Wealth, and the Center for No-Till as our key partners. We have not been working with the consortium for long. I think since 2019, that's where we started working. But I must say, the impact of the consortium on our work is enormous. Since SELFUP started working in 1989, up to 2001 June, we were based solely in Kumasi. We didn't have any office outside of the Ashanti region, so we occasionally go to other regions, work, and then come back. But in 2021, through our partnership with ISU, UWB, KNUST, New Traditional Authority, and MUFA, we have commenced operations in the Upper West region, one of the most challenged regions in Ghana. And I must say, in May, only last month, 57 women were trained and given microloans to start new businesses and also expand existing ones. As I speak, there are 80 farmers who have received training and they are ready to receive support to go into major season farming. Our first ever moisture meter was procured from SESI, and we were able to do so after we came into contact with a consortium, and they recommended SESI technology for us when we were in dire need of a moisture meter. So these are some of the impact that the consortium has brought on our work here in Ghana, and we are extremely grateful. Not too long ago, we presented to the consortium of a challenge we are having with one of our communities that is into garlic processing. These women have the equipment, but the stove they are using currently is not in the good shape. It produces a lot of smoke that's affecting their health. When we made this known to the consortium, they quickly assigned some team members to us. So very soon, we'll move the team to the community to have this smoke issue also addressed. So in the nutshell, these are some of the impacts that the consortium has made on our work, and we are really grateful. If we need any additional information concerning the work we do, these are the contacts. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Very good. Of course, this morning we had a chance to visit both SESI Technologies and SciTech. So let's hear a little bit from each of you in terms of your connection to the consortium or individual researchers or institutions, and what that has done in terms of an impact.
Okay. So we've been working with the consortium and in the areas of research and also in the areas of training these farmers. Currently, in terms of our impact, we're working in hand with the consortium, we've been able to reach more than 1,500 farmers. We've been also been able to train about 2,000 farmers. And in terms of expanding our scope of business, Sesi Technologies was known for grain mate moisture meter, but working with a consortium, we've been able to expand our services, our business, and now we now have a suite of businesses that we are a suite of solutions we are offering to farmers to help them mitigate their losses. And then we have so in terms of the suite of solutions, we have storage technologies, we have threshing services, we have drying services. We have also created a market access for farmers. We realize that after getting their grains, they find it difficult to even sell these grains at premium prices. So we created this market access, all with the help of this consortium. We've been able to achieve this. And this has been a great opportunity for us working with the consortium. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, much of our engagement mainly has been with individual players, I would say, in the consortium. For we at SATEC, I think a number of the people on board now, our staff, are products of KNUST, some from Agric and Biosystems Engineering. Just recently, I think one of the members, Professor Ado, also shared with us this was a design of a small rice thresher that he had been working on, that he was interested in us, commercializing or building. It's a small unit that can go more directly to the smallholder farmers. It's something we are currently looking into. Beyond this, there have been, how do I call it, engagements that we have done more relating to the individual members, as I said, but maybe not exactly the whole consortium as itself. And as a business, of course, our activities have directly influenced the smallholder, the needs of the smallholder farmer in terms of how quickly they can get maybe threshing services, how well that influences their income level, and the time it saves for their children. Because what happens is that usually in these communities where farming, the parents or who are the farmers sometimes depend on their children for the labor. So where machinery comes in, the more the school going days are saved for these children. Yeah.
I'll pass the mic on here for people that have questions, but I think one of the other aspects that's definitely been very helpful for the consortium, and partly speaking for myself in terms of as we have interacted or collaborated with KNUST, or you work in a particular community or you have a particular inquiry, to be able to say that there is a multi-crop thresher available and it's available here in Ghana, and point the people to you, right? Whether it ends up in a sale or not, it nevertheless is the technology is here. Or to be able to say, oh yeah, we know how to measure moisture and there's equipment available. And here's a company that makes those meters in Ghana, and then they become available, right? Because the availability of technology is a whole nother component with regard to that supply chain. We always talk about the supply chain of the produce, of the crop, but the supply chain of technology is so important as well, right? And yeah.
And then to add one point, actually the multi-crop thresher started as a student project in Agric and Biosystems Engineering.
Excellent. And then also, the hermetic bags, right? You have helped to facilitate the purchase of hermetic bags, and then empowered some women in the Ulu traditional area to sell and represent, that product up there too. And then that would not have happened, us trying to do it and so forth. So that's really powerful. So who wants to ask a question of the panel members?
Thanks for your good job. And I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that you help build storage facilities. Can you tell us more about the storage facility? Is it different from the emitter bag? Because we know that there's a push for emitter bag and it's been working quite well. So why the need for your storage facility and what's unique about it?
Okay, so the issue has been that providing them with hermetic bags well, in a way, it's solving post-harvest losses. But we realized that it is very prudent for you to also have a proper warehousing system where you can store your grains. And then we are trying to help farmers. We don't want a situation whereby farmers will get this hermetic bags, store it under not a proper condition, and then you realize that they are trying to preserve their grains, but they end up destroying it or losing it. So we came out with a structure where we call it a warehousing facility. We have pallets, we have well-designed a space for farmers to keep their grains in. And then in doing that, we help them to improve the grain quality. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The second question is for you, sir. Yeah. So nutrition security is very important. That seems to be one of the key goals of this initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about the nutrition aspect, how you actually help improve nutrition in these communities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with you. Nutrition security is quite an important thing. Sadly, if you go to most of our rural communities, that is where we get our food. I mean, they produce, but if you get to know, what they are consuming, you wonder why that is happening. Why should they produce the best food and then send them to the market centers in the big cities and they consume what I would say not nutritious enough? For the years that we have been working with farmers in this community, we realized that yes, some of them really don't have appreciable understanding of what nutritious meal is. Once they consume and they get their tummy full, that is okay. Most of the communities we work, at some point we found that stunting was quite high. They were eating, but they were not, getting the right nutrients. So what we are doing at this point with them is, yes, we are educating them that yes, it is not enough to just fill your tummy. There are some combinations that you need to understand. There are some crops that you need to grow and consume with the family. Even if we don't have enough money to get the protein, there are some crops that you can get the minimum protein you need for the family. So to this effect, we are heavily promoting quality protein maize because maize constitutes a greater part of what we eat. So we are on that. For pregnant and lactating mothers, we are educating them to as much as possible to practice exclusive breastfeeding. We are also guiding them to grow and consume vegetables as much as possible. If we go to rural communities, their backyard, they have enough space where they can grow these vegetables, but for some reason, they are not growing them. And then what we are getting is that they really don't see the value in consuming this crop. So we are providing education, we are providing food supplement where necessary. And then I did mention of our school feeding program. Here, what we are observing is that even though we feed them breakfast prepared from quality protein maize, in terms of nutritional value, this is not achieving the goal, but it's helping to improve on school enrollment and attendance. So these are some of the things that we are doing with regard to nutrition education and our promoting good nutrition program. Thank you.
My name is Kizito Nishime. I'm from the University of Rwanda. I have two questions. The first goes with the nutrition. That's all I was talking about. One thing, so maybe you are training them in terms of nutritious food, but sometimes they don't have money. So how do you address this aspect? The other thing I just want to ask you, so we know that animal source food, for instance, eggs, they are the most richest nutritious food that we may affordable that we can have. Is there any program in this or how you're approaching this aspect? The last one, you showed us that you are training them in a micro run. So is there any follow-up or just training them? Because the most of the time you see you are training them today, they will not become experts in accountability or things like that. But what is now the entire package that you are providing to them So just to accompany them in this road in terms of getting to sustainable, whatever ones you want to say.
Thank you, Gizito. Poverty alleviation is a big thing. And it calls for multidimensional approach to be able to address that. Self-Help International, at some point, we were implementing just one approach. We were just providing loans to clients to start and expand their businesses. But we realized that was not enough. Providing them access to loans alone wasn't enough. And again, nutrition education alone is also not enough. So what we are doing now is to tackle hunger from 3 main dimensions. We are looking at educating them on what nutrition is, giving them good nutritional education. Then after that, you teach them to grow and consume nutrient-rich crops. Then the third thing is microfinancing. Sometimes they have the knowledge, but they lack the resources to implement the knowledge. So that is what comes in. Yes, after giving them the training, we make sure they have access to microloans to implement whatever they have learned. We have a community and livestock program under our improving agricultural intervention. And here, yes, we encourage them to also go into animal rearing. We started with poultry, but that didn't go too well, but we are still on it. Rabbit is something that we try and it's going very well because rabbit is very prolific. Once you have 2 male and female now, in 2-3 months, we have a large number of rabbits to support the protein needs of the family. So yes, these are the interventions that we are using: education, and then also access to finance to implement the knowledge acquired.
All right. My question to all the panel members is in terms of farmers who we know, I mean, these are sometimes we classify them as poor resource, farmers in terms of their access to resources. How are you ensuring, or what kind of model are you operating to, let them have access to some of these interventions that you've developed?
Okay, so at Consortium Technologies, the model that we are operating with is that farmers have they have the opportunity to exchange for our services with the grains that they produce. So we realized that at the point they didn't have the resources to afford these technologies, but they needed the technologies. So what we came up with was that we have a model, we've made it very flexible. You can exchange your grains for our technologies. And then this has really impacted, in terms of numbers, I think we've worked around about 2,000 farmers in using this model. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Akua. Yes. For us, a point more, we have at our current stage, we have been more focused towards manufacturing. We clearly, have seen the challenge that the smallholder farmer cannot, does not always have the financial means to get this. In some places, they are banded in like cooperatives where it helps them to, get access to equipment and get access to equipment. There are still, challenges in terms of the fact that this is not so widespread to every single farmer. And then sometimes the farmers will have to wait because they have to finish the person who has maybe the biggest land size before they get to the smallest person. So all of these things are challenges on the table where we have the efforts we have done directly maybe affect our customer first, and then we hope that trickles on to the smallholder farmers who are actually the end users. We have made a conscious effort to not make equipment that is too big, because when the equipment becomes too big, it's not very enticing from a business viewpoint to use such an equipment to provide service to a smallholder farmer, because the cost of operation just goes too high for you to enter the hinterland to provide service to the smallholder farmers. So consciously, we've made efforts to keep the machine at a size that is okay for the service provider, and then he can use this to serve at least more farmers than somebody who owns a much bigger equipment. The other thing we have done, we have piloted in a number of areas, providing direct service to people who have more access to these farmers. Last year, we were in Amon Mine area to serve a number of farmers who had gotten in touch with us to scale. To scale is under, I think, IFDC, I don't remember that, but they help bring interventions to this smallholder farmers. And also for the past, I'll say a year and a half, we have stationed a machine at Atonsweja. So these are small steps that we are taking in our own capacity. Ideally, what would help this is that if we had the barriers that is keeping individuals from acquiring equipment to go into these areas, we have, how do I call it, a platform that is focused towards getting this done. The idea is that there are people, let's say, for instance, Mr. Kowa, maybe you live in Kumasi, you could to an extent maybe partner with somebody to buy a thresher, but it'll be very difficult for you to go to maybe somewhere like Ulo or maybe Golu, or to go and then provide service. However, if you keep a machine there, you want visibility. You want to know that, okay, my machine has worked this number of hours today, and I'm expecting this produce from it. We have built one, this is our GPS tracker system. We have built one version. We are currently working on a second version. We had some challenges with the first version, but what this does is that it helps to mitigate the barrier to somebody living in the big city who can afford equipment like this to acquire the equipment, so the farmers can get more access. The more equipment that are available on the market, the higher the access of the smallholder farmer to equipment service. They don't really need to own equipment, but they need the services of the equipment. Yeah.
So I think one thing that I learned to my surprise a few years ago is that, whenever we're talking about farmers and them being able to get access to credit, to purchase seed and fertilizer and so forth, part of their cost budgeting is typically also buying services. So the fact that you're offering a threshing service is really not something that they're not used to, right? Because they also incorporate buying tractor services, right? For a tractor to come through and basically they say plow, but it's really a disking type of an operation, right? And then they go after and they usually build up their fields in terms of how they want to plant and so forth. So that's interesting. My question is, again, we're talking a lot about what can farmers afford, right? And how do they have to finance the operations? But how do you finance your operation, right? I mean, most businesses, their best friend is a banker, right? In order to really be in business, you have to get a good relationship with a bank and you have a standard operating loan and so forth. How does this work in Ghana for a startup business and an entrepreneurial business like what all of you have, or even as an NGO? How do you finance yourself? How do you do that?
So, yeah, thank you, Professor Dek. For the past 3 years, what we've learned is that there's been a changing scene in, initially we make to order, but then there's a trend among customers that they want to pay for machine today and pick it today. They cannot wait maybe the period it will take. So the past year, what we did was that we're under a program, was an accelerator program that at the end of it had a loan/grant agreement with a very good, I'd say about 5% interest rate. So we went in for that to be able to build machine and stock up against the harvest season. So we're able to do that, and we're able to, sell off all the equipment. With some of the equipment we made, so when you came to the facility, you saw 3 equipment. They were made from some of the proceeds from that. So it's more of the approach that we are going. But actually, if you walk straight to a commercial bank, you may not get you are getting interest rates maybe 20-25% upward. So that is very crippling for any business. And there are some don't even have moratorium or any of those things. So you take today, I expect you to start paying the next month, and so it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but our approach to has been to look beyond the shores of Ghana, because we've sold equipment internationally. We sold equipment to Nigeria. We get orders from across the country. So it's easy to access some venture funding from outside the shores of Ghana if Ghana is not exactly working. Yeah.
Okay, so how in terms of how we've been able to finance our activities has solely been on competition pitches that we've won, and also a few of the grants that we were able to try to make technologies available, and right from the sale, we were able to make some profits to expand in terms of our operation. So it has been from the grant, a few grants that we had, and also sale profit from the sale of our technologies. Yeah.
Yeah, our activities are largely donor funded, but we do have a revolving fund out of which we give out micro loans to farmers and petty traders to support their businesses.
Yeah, so maybe you Nipat, you answered the question that I was to ask, but I want to know from those who are doing business. So for long term, how do you see yourself? So because I know you mentioned the interest rate here in Ghana, it's a little bit higher, the same Rwanda 20 plus something %. So, but in Rwanda, we have what we call Rwanda Development Bank. I don't remember the interest, but it may be low. How are you engaging with these development financial agencies like now, just to sustainably now providing this equipment, maybe engaging the partnership with the cooperatives, and then they can pay for long term instead of giving the entire cash. So how do you see yourself engaging in that way?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Kizito. We have already in the past done some groundwork in terms of finding people who could finance the equipment and give, on credit, or maybe like a lease to purchase agreement. We've spoken to ARB Rural Bank. What we find is that typically the banks have tried giving credit to people, and because there's a high rate of people defaulting, they do not want to do that. We found people who were willing to give money to support this. However, they needed to do it through a bank. Now the bank is not willing to do this because somehow the risk is all transferred to them. So the bank also wants a way to maybe lay off or transfer the liability to somebody else. So in this triangle where we are right now, it's a bit difficult. However, it's not very difficult from where we stand to try what we have done in any other country. And point in case, we are about starting operations in Kenya. We already document all the equipment that we do. And so it's very easy to just go with your data, and then, of course, with the partner locally, you could set up there. I think it may be much easier to maybe set up and operate something in Rwanda than maybe say get money from Rwanda intended for maybe development in Rwanda to come and operate something in Ghana. So going forward, I think our focus maybe as a company, in purely business line, has been is that we want to raise venture funding or any other one that, of course, from a market that the interest rates are much better if it's going to be a loan, so we can go beyond the shores of Ghana. The problems we have here in Ghana are almost the same in sub-Saharan Africa, and we see that the market is calling for solutions that can meet that. So I'd say maybe scratching the question, that's what it looks like.
Well, so I want to find out from Mr. Kusi in terms of, I know typically when it comes to our smallholder farmers, because they are not that resourceful in terms of their activities. Sometimes when you give them some of these loans, it's more or less like giving it as a freebie. So they look at it as something that they can survive on without the intention of paying back. How have you been able to put in mechanisms to ensure that at least you are able to get these loans repaid so that you can extend it to others who may need some of these services?
For some reason, here in this country, a lot of people have branded as farmers as a high risk and don't want to give them loans. Even though there's a bank in Ghana, Agricultural Development Bank. That bank is there to support farmers. But, well, I don't know how many farmers the Agricultural Development Bank supports in a year. Farmers are not that risky, no. They are reasonable human beings, just like us. They are into it as a business and they want to make profit. Sometimes the high default rate is due to a number of factors. There are some farmers who are into it as a last resort. They look out for opportunity to do other things. It never worked for them and they jump into farming. They are really not into farming as a business. Sometimes the understanding of the agronomy is weak. How to plant in rows, how to use your quality seeds, how to apply fertilizers, all these things are lacking. So clearly, when you don't study these things carefully and you go into it to give them loans, we are not setting them up to succeed. So before we advance any loan to a farmer, we make sure that that farmer is trained. That farmer has the knowledge and expertise to do farming and do it as a business and to be successful. Again, it has happened. Farmers were given their resources and they did not put them to the right use. If you are supporting a farmer, we make sure we will give you the inputs. We will buy the fertilizers for you, we buy you the seeds and make sure we buy you quality seeds. And we also supervise the planting. When all these things are done, it's very difficult for the farmers to fail. Of course, weather failure can come. When the weather disappoints you, there's very little we can do. When these things happen, we are there, we see it, and we sit down with the farmers and see how best we can restructure these loans. When you give the right training, you provide right supervision, you make sure the funds go to where they are intended to be, failure is virtually zero. So these are the measures that we put in place. And again, we also made them understand that we are in it to make sure they succeed. So we are with them every step of the way. You know that we advance the loans to them and then we turn our backs on them. No, right from day one, we are with them every step of the way. So they appreciate it. And if they come across real challenges, they let us know. And together with them, we sit down to address these challenges. So these are some of the measures that we have. And I'm very happy to say our microfinance scheme has 98% recovery rate.
Yeah, thank you very much. To my young guys, in Ghana, the government is drumming home concerning youth empowerment and other things. I don't know how you have liaised with the government to support what you are doing in terms of your technology so that at least more youth can also benefit from what you are doing. I'm also thinking that what you are doing is good. If the government can support even to train more of the youth in your sectors, so that at least it will not only be in Kumasi, but it can also be decentralized in other regions where they can train others. So I don't know how much you have gone far with governments and maybe other institutions to help train the youth in that sector. Then also to Mr. Kusi. I want to find out whether you have ever conducted any pilot study in terms of the nutritional aspects that you are providing in terms of education, the food that you are providing, whether really there has been beneficial impacts or impacts on the people that you are supported in terms of the nutritional aspect, because it's very, very important. because most of us eat, and sometimes the food that we eat has not contained the nutrients that we need for development at the same time for growth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I come to the second question, youth empowerment. I think as a country, all of us have a responsibility. You all have a role to play. It's about time we change the psyche of our youth. For some reason, they have come to believe in quick fixes. They finish school and they don't want to, drive in expensive cars. They want to sit in air-conditioned rooms. Today, I was at your name again? Yes, CETEC, and I was impressed. I saw young ladies out there cutting metals. Dipping their hand in the soil, holding metals rusty. It is not common. Our youth today don't want to do that. We set up a program to draw people who have come here to the university to study agriculture, so that we will help them have the skills to go into agriculture as a business. They come there, we train them 1 year. They don't want to go out there to practice. What is the point? You come to the university to study agriculture for 4 years. When you are done, you don't want to practice agriculture because their mates are out there driving all the expensive vehicles. No. You have to let them understand that if they really want to be successful in life, they have to appreciate hard work. Back to my question on the nutritional assessment, whatever we have been giving to our clients. At this point, we have not done any impact survey. But what I know is that periodically we do assessment of the weight of the children on the program. And I must, yes, occasionally we do have some of them who fall within some rate. We have some of them who are obese. We have some of them who are normal. But what I can say is that clients who have gone strictly to our guidelines have really remained very healthy, and we don't have any issues with their health. So that's what I would say with regard to our nutrition intervention. Thank you.
So in terms of youth empowerment, at CESI Technologies, our team is made up of young and vibrant people within the age bracket of 23 to 29 with diverse skills coming together to support the food security agenda. What we have also done for some time now is that we've liaised with NEIP, that is a government subsidiary program, where we are able to get personnel who are interested in agric programs to join our team, and then also to train them on our technology. So we've liaised with the government in that regard, trying to get young and energetic youth to see agriculture as a sustainable business and not only for the old age. So that is what we've been doing from time to time now. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for your question. There's a lot of how do I say? There's a lot of encouragement to young people to venture into, let's say, enterprising opportunities. We hear the government drumming a lot. Yeah, it's good. It's a very necessary step, and of course, I believe the government is doing a number of things. We hear about them: the 1D, 1F, the NEIP, the USTAT. Yeah, all of those are a step, obviously, in the right direction. It's quite good. As a young business person, of course, what I have noticed over time too is that entrepreneurship is difficult, and the price you have to pay sometimes may be higher per an individual person. It may be some of the reason why maybe not you may have maybe not so high numbers of people maybe leaving schools being interested in maybe starting their own businesses, which is important. You also have to understand that perhaps it's not every business that may contribute exactly in an impactful way to maybe economic development or something like that. We have, of course, like NEIP, also on the NEIP program, we have made, attempts to reach a Greek directorate. There are engagements with some of these people as to how much maybe this will translate into what the business needs at the point in time. It's not been maybe so encouraging. So sometimes that may lead to your focus on other avenues. And that's what I can say on that.
Thank you. Steve, Dr. Zonka, do you want to ask a question?
Actually, just wanted to comment and pick up on, I think it was Benjamin's comment about credit and the high default rate. And evidently, Mr. Ungamalu from Aringa Hope couldn't be with us this morning, but they have a very interesting program that sounds much like what Benjamin was describing. And my point and my comment is really focusing on an organizational approach that can reduce default rates is tremendously important to having a system that can use credit. Default rates are not given, they are the product of people and the organizations they deal with. And very quickly, Aringa Hope has something similar to a microfinance, but I think it's larger than what microfinance would be. But they work very closely with the borrowers to reduce the default rate. And because their default rate is low, the interest rate they charge similarly can be lower than commercial rates. And so a focus, as we think about how do we advance, a focus on the kind of organizations that can reduce default rates is very important. Otherwise, the high credit, as others have mentioned, the high interest rates will diminish any potential for growth. So just to comment to and to point to a successful venture in another part of Africa.
Thank you, Steve. A thought strikes me in this conversation is when so often we talk about government. This is not just here in Ghana. This is in many other places, including in the United States, right? I mean, government should do this or government should do that. When you take just these three examples of companies, enterprises, or an NGO, if I were government, I should be asking Benjamin to say, oh, you have about $1 million in your investment fund through which that you have created. When he speaks of donors, I've seen their donor list. They're individual people. They're not corporations. They send out every year a list of the name of every person, every single person that has given money to Self-Help International to organize, to support their NGO. And they can also, I designate my giving towards Ghana, others let it happen wherever, right? That is donor funded. This is not Gates or the World Bank or anybody else giving them money. Don't know. These are individuals. So even the investment fund that you have for microcredit is a result of donor funding, right? You're not out there in the market speculating in order to get, stock prices to give you dividends and all that kind of stuff. So if I were government, I said, you have a successful model, right? You have been successful in helping communities here in the Kumasi area, now up in Ulo. You have a payback rate of 98%. If I gave you another $1 million totally for free to double, could you continue to be successful? Wouldn't that be a smart investment? And the benefits to an organization that's already willing to do that. And these two right here, right? In both cases, we've heard that they can't really have been able to access any government funding in any affordable manner or whatnot. Well, where's government? we're also asking them now to do something about the youth employment situation when they have been really building their enterprises, from the bottom up as students and young entrepreneurs. If I were government, I should say, how can I buy and make a contract with you to buy 500 of your multi-crop threshers over the next 5 years and just make that contract and pay you for that? Then they can hire a bunch of other people, and we don't have to give government subsidies to people that haven't found employment. I don't have to give you a subsidy because I'm buying your product. Or 10,000 of your moisture meters, right? Make a contract, government, with them. And then as a result of them making those products, they're going to employ more people, right? Government does not create jobs, business does. And unless you create environments that make it possible for businesses and NGOs and others to thrive in an environment. Again, this is not just here in Ghana. This is a systemic problem throughout low-income countries in the world. We've tried all kinds of solutions, but they're always mostly bureaucratic, expensive, huge overhead, and all that kind of stuff. And so for us, it's been just a great learning experience too, as to you have examples of how you've done it differently and really opposite to what everybody thinks it could be done or should be done. And it's been a tremendous learning experience, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And so, but I think we should defend this type and say, hey, they're already doing this, right? Why, how can we help them? Buy product from them, give them more money so they can make microloans to help address poverty, right? Ultimately, food security is about poverty. I know I'm on my soapbox, I'm sorry.
Well, maybe I'll do my final question. I just want to find out from Seitek and Ceci, in terms of how much are you opening up? Because we know, of course, these interventions are helping address, the challenges our smallholder farmers face. But how much are you opening up to kind of outside investments in terms of people who would want to, have you made a case of how profitable will it be for if, as an individual, I want to come in and say, look, I've seen what you are doing is good, but then will I make any meaning out of investing maybe 20 threshers in of your products and sending it out to provide those services? Because I know it's not only about farmers buying or individual cooperatives buying, but we could also have a business case for investors who will see it as a profitable venture for them to also invest into it. What mechanisms are you putting in place to tap into these kind of areas also?
Yeah, directly to that one, I mentioned that we have an IoT system on the equipment, the thresher. Then we have, it comes with a mobile application. What this is mainly doing is that the owner now has the much needed visibility on the field operations of machines that he owns. So this system is would help create, like, let's say, a yardstick that the owner of the machine can measure the work in the field as against the reports that the field people would present. That's the first step. Going forward, actually, we want to input some level of image and quantitative measurement. I think I mentioned this to Prof. Dekwen in Iowa, where you could also have the output. It's like getting to almost the final stage of giving the owner like the information you need. Actually, you threshed this kilogram of grain. This is the cost of 1 kilogram. This is the money you should get. If you don't get that, then there's something wrong. This is how much operations cost. You understand that. So for an individual person who wants to invest in just the sale of buying equipment and then using it as a form of investment, you have to know that, of course, you are running a business with this. This would be profitable. If we were a publicly traded company, then I'll say, come and buy some of Seitek stock. That's another way of investing in us. And then, but as a private limited liability company, this is a bit more close. Then you'll be looking for maybe much bigger money than maybe if we're a publicly traded company. Yeah.
I mean, to recoup your investment. I mean, that kind of, scenarios for it to convince people to say that I can go to the bank and take a loan and maybe buy 10 of your treasures and I'll be able to recoup my investment in 2 years. I mean, yes, the technology is there, but investors will need that convincing that if I invest into this money, indeed, I'll be able to make my, investments.
We have incrementally done that. We've also benefited. I don't know if you know Toho Somaila. He's one of the big aggregators in Upper West. For some time, he was having engagements with using treasures that we had designed in partnership with Soybean Innovation Lab. And then for one season, he made so much from just the treasuring service. Now, he was one use case that we're using. As a company, we are 3 years old. When it comes to money, you have to maybe build some level of credibility over time. It takes quite some time. So at the level where maybe you could put your face out there, we have not reached there so much, but then we have sold close to 60 equipment so far. And the oldest to still 3 years. So there's some things that we can only do with age. Say that.
This is a follow-up, CTEC. Are you looking forward to some form of partnership?
Yes, we already have ongoing partnerships. Like our operations that we are beginning in Kenya is with a local fabricator there in Kenya. We have other partnerships with other businesses like MOUs with Trotro Tractor that is going to be buying equipment over some period of time. So we are very open to a partnership so long as we find that it's going to be a win-win. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead. One more question here. And then before you ask your question, think about just some closing comments, anything that's on your mind, anything you want to share, anything you want to comment on kind of as a closing round, because we have a few other things we need to take care of. Ola, go ahead.
Yes, as a very young company, you want to grow and you want to see more of your products rolled out. But you must also know that it's not easy to scale. Scalability is a big problem. What are the potential challenges do you actually foresee or already thinking about? Because you don't want to be ignorant of those challenges. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, one of the very glaring problems is first off, how to mass produce when the demand is high. Last year, for instance, we had people, about 36 people doing this who were ready, wanted a machine. The scale at which it would have to take some time to do that. However, at our scale, what we can master very well is to be doing research and development, documenting designs. Then, like most of the big successful companies do, they do design and then outsource to, they have an outsourced manufacturing process that can bring that in. As much as, that is very important, it's one of the things we hope to do, and most of the advice we are looking at is that we also, have one other aspect, or let's say a caveat to this, is that doing that would mean that essentially you are also sending jobs somewhere outside of your country. That's also something critically to consider, because if we go that way, which maybe looks like something to do, you can have impact, certainly, but you would also have to think of the fact that, well, then you cannot employ as many people as you would to, because where the bulk of the work is you are doing, you are sending it outside. As a manufacturing company, certainly it's one of the big questions we are looking at, is one of the areas that we have seen that is going to be an issue or challenge to overcome if we are going to make as many as, we say, 120 units per year of just treasures. Yeah.
Thank you. My question goes to the young guys and the young company. I'm curious, the people looking at you, I'm sure you employ younger people. The people that you employ, do they fit your purpose? In other words, are they trained? I'm sure they are coming from the universities and maybe technical. Are they well trained to fit, or you have to give them a whole massive overhaul of their thinking and the way they do things? If that is so, what do you think can be corrected at these institutions that train them?
So from Ceci Technologies, what is happening is that in terms of our workforce, we have young, energetic people who are dedicated in terms of trying to push for an agenda. And then I want to take it again. So please, yeah. So what happens is that because we have they are coming from the university, they are coming with diverse skills. So from our end, since we the production of the moisture meters are done rightfully in our office, what happens is that we, one way or the other, we try to offer a sort of training in certain areas. But then those that we hire on board, or those who come on board, are really equipped with the skills that we need. So in terms of training, I think we don't spend so much time training them to understand what we want to do, and or train them to understand what we want to do, and also to drive the agenda that as an organization we have. Yeah.
Benjamin, go ahead. Final comments and reflections as well, please.
Okay, I wanted to react to Professor's question. Okay, right, okay, thank you. The last time we met the EWB students at the Electrical Engineering Department, I had opportunity to share with them that yes, after here, they will go out into the real world. Some of the things that they are doing now, by way of they being part of Engineers Without Borders, I never had that opportunity. There is too much academic stuff. I mean, yes, the book, the grades are good. It's good to score the grades A and grade B, but let's be mindful that yes, after school, you go out there. You go out there to find ourselves fit into certain environment. So yes, our little message to the professors here is, let's bridge the gap between the academia and then the life out there. I mean, the industries. Let's find a way to link them. Occasionally, it wouldn't be a bad thing to invite somebody maybe from CESI or CETEC or Self-Up International to come and meet with the students to share with them what we expect from them. Sometimes you do hire people. People will sit before you and you ask them questions and you ask yourself, how can we employ these people? So yes, I mean, they have the brains, but they need a bit of some training that will make them fit into the environment outside the four corners of Kenya University. So yes, we are ready. If you invite us, we'll come and share with you what we feel will make them fit. So after school, it won't be a struggle trying to find a job. So thank you. And then, okay.
I would like to react to. Yes, thank you for that. First off, I mean, I'm a product of KNUST. My co-founder is also a product of KNUST. I find that the training and opportunity we had, a number of the networks and people we met, CESI founder is also a product of KNUST. I think this university is doing quite well. There's a direction or a drive to have their products engaging in such activities, and it's good. One of the things that I think the university should also consider is that there are, if you look at it critically, like mechanical engineering lab, I was a mechanical engineering student, they have equipment there that some of those equipment are also in Swami magazine. Most of these things are used for maybe educational purposes, school projects. However, they have commercial value because for when I was a TA on campus, they brought in some new equipment. Since that time, I've had interest in, they providing, service for us. They have a mailing center, they have a CNC machine. For a business people, I think that is something that the university would consider. All that I found out about, can we use this equipment? Can you provide? There's a whole maybe long stretch before you get authorization to use the equipment. Even though the equipment is like an industrial scale equipment, it's not exactly equipment you use for education. I don't know if they are training students on that now, but I think the university should also maybe turn its eye to using facility available to the university for, maybe if you can start with maybe companies that have people that came from KNUST to help. Of course, thank KNUST for their farms, the KNUST farms. We actually have an experimental farm there that we plant maize that we use for testing of our equipment. So yeah, the university is helping. I think there are good efforts in that line. We could do more too, certainly. Yes.
Good comments. Any final comments and by any of you?
First and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to all of you, especially Professor Maya, for this opportunity to be interacting with all of you here. We very much appreciate that. Though I'm a product of KNUST, precisely agricultural engineering, I've been gone for too long, and I think it's back. It is good to be back home, and I'm back, and I'm not going again.
That's a promise. That's good.
This afternoon, during lunchtime, I had a chat with my brother here, and I asked him what will it take for SESI to go to a new community. And he told me all that they look out for is good contact. And I told him we have an excellent contact in Ulo. So from here, we are going with SESI to Ulo to start the operations there. The kind of services that they provide, we need that. And we are sure if we're able to collaborate with them, we'll very much be able to achieve our missions much better. So SESI, thank you very much. And Secretary too, thank you very much. This consortium, no matter what it takes, I'm more than convinced in my mind that we have to continue. We have to continue. It has been very impactful. Yes, definitely we encounter some challenges, but I strongly believe that if we stay together, even the opportunity to share knowledge, opportunity to share ideas alone is enough to move every one of us here very far. So thank you very much, and let us keep the consortium going.
Yeah, I would also want to add, of course, thank you to the consortium for setting this up. I'll say ongoing relationships that SATEC has benefited from. The first time I met Professor Dekmai, I think was in December of 2018. Then in 2019 too, we met. In 2020, I was in Switzerland and I met one of the bosses of Bühle, and he spoke about you. Because he made a comment that the whole of Iowa produces more maize than all of the continent of Africa. So I went to him and I asked him, I think I know the person who said this. And I mentioned your name. And he said, yes, that's right. And I said, wow. So I mean, at that point, I felt, wow, Professor Dekmai has been to, a lot of places. I think the consortium is doing like the much needed work that would help us. And thank you for, the continuous engagement with, startups who are helping to also provide the services, much needed services that farmers need that would contribute, of course, to, reducing and mitigating post-harvest issues and food wastage. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so to add up to what my colleague also said, I would say thank you very much for having us this afternoon. And we want to see this engagement ongoing. This shouldn't be the last. And then we have really benefited from this consortium. Mr. Kuwa, in terms of training, he has been with us. And then, in fact, we are much grateful for everything. We want this to be ongoing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon, also for hosting us again for the visits, and also you were here yesterday and the day before, so you've made some real time investment away from your businesses, and that's real money. So thanks for that contribution to enhancing our meetings here together. And I think this was time well spent and good information. So we appreciate that.